Brian T Licata is a filmmaker and producer who specializes in the comedy scene. He hosts several different podcasts with comedians such as Gary Garcia, Steve Rinaldi, and Dom Herrera. Brian was one of my first consistent clients when I first started out editing videos, and I'm extremely grateful because he has become one of my best friends. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Devin. I'm a remote video editor living in Argentina, and on this show we talk about systems that we've figured out and are still figuring out to make ourselves better editors, filmmakers, and content creators. Enjoy this conversation with Brian T Licata.
I can't remember the last time I was a guest on someone else's podcast.
Oh,
I'm very excited. You know, it doesn't happen.
Welcome to Video Editing Systems. So why don't do you want to explain to the people how you got into video and how you got into comedy and where you got to what you're doing today?
Yeah, I mean, I got into video, I guess kind of like, it wasn't really by accident, but I was in a business development class. It was first period of my freshman year of high school. And I was in the class and it was all a bunch of like super seniors or, not super seniors, but just, upperclassmen or whatever. And they would sleep. And the teacher was like this Ben Stein kind of guy who would just like monotone, be like talking and talking and talking. And after like, I don't know, it's probably the first week, I went to the guidance counselor and I was like, yo, you got to get me out of this class. Like, I'm not going to learn anything. Everybody's super, it's like a puff class, and I didn't want to be in there. And my guidance counselor was like, well, the only other open elective without like rearranging your whole schedule is a TV and film class. And I was like, oh yeah, well, let me do that. But it was only for upperclassmen. So I had to go and talk to the teacher to get like an approval thing to be able to go into the class as a freshman. So, I mean, I remember walking in there and I was like, hey, my name is Brian. I'm in this like really boring class. I want to learn, blah, blah, blah. Like, can I come into your class? And the teacher actually knew my older brother. And he liked him. So he kind of, basically, I guess, took a chance and was like, all right, sure. We'll give it a try. So that's how I got in. And I mean, I started doing that. And the teacher took me from, like, we were doing the morning announcements on the TV. And he took me from literally every single station in the first, like, 3 months I was there. Like, I learned how to do the audio board. I mean, the first thing I learned how to do was wrap wires, right? He showed me how to wrap cables. And once I could wrap cables, then I could hold the camera. And then from holding the camera, then I could put the tape in. And then from the tape, I went to the audio board. Then the audio board to the, to the mixer. And then, dude, by the end of the year, I was like directing the announcements. And I did that for like, 4 years. So, I mean, I guess that's the long way of how I got in, at least, professionally.
Nice. And what drew you to comedy in particular?
Well, that's a good question. Dude, I think what it was with comedy is I always watched Seinfeld, like as a kid with my parents, like we would watch it as like a family, and it was a show we could all like laugh at. And then I remember listening to, I think it was one of his tapes and one of Ray Romano's, and it was a joke that Seinfeld did about wearing those cheap plastic Halloween masks that would like go over your face and have this like little plastic band that went around your head. And then it was talking about like wearing like your mom making you wear a coat. Like if you're from the Northeast and you go out for Halloween, like you're dressed up as Superman, but like with a jacket, so you don't get cold. And then his like joke is like, Superman doesn't get cold. But it was just really like relatable. And I thought it was, I mean, even then I kind of remember, wow, this is crazy that there's this like 40 or 50-year-old guy and that we have like similarities to. So that's what I've always liked about comedies. It's kind of like a, there's no prerequisites for laughing, Like it's a very like universal language. I think that's probably why I like it so much. If it's funny, it's funny.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's crazy that just hearing that, like thinking about how Seinfeld is what the first thing that comes to mind for you, and then you ended up now you do a podcast with Dom Herrera.
Dude, it's crazy, right? Like it's really crazy, and that's like the other thing I really like about comedy. I guess as maybe opposed to other art forms, like they're not like musicians and rock stars. Like most of them are kind of pretty much like degenerates, you know. Like they're not like you know. I asked Dom, like, you know, why are you a comedian? It's because like he really couldn't find any success at anything else. You know, he kept getting fired from jobs, kept quitting. You know, would fly off the handle at somebody, and it's like the only thing that they found. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a really pure art form. You know, you're not using any. There's no instruments. There's no like special effects. It's just words. Oh.
Yeah. I think it's crazy that like you're doing that, and for me it was mind blowing. Like one of the first jobs that I did for you was you did a podcast with Tommy Chong. And I was like,
right.
I've made it. I was like, this is incredible. I'm editing Tommy Chong. And then you told me like, yeah, he does masonry work. That's how I got in touch with him.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's just like, you know, it's that's the part I like too, is like, you know, the comedy business is like, it's small and it's like, you know, I don't know, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but it's just like there's not a big barrier to entry. You know, like once you start to get to know some people, like you're more or less in the scene, but there's just not like, you know, it's just, there's small clubs everywhere. Like even a bigger comedian will do a bar show still, but you're not going to find like, you know, like Aerosmith isn't going to do like a bar show, you know,
Yeah.
if they even play anymore. But like that, you know, like you'll still see like big comedians that'll just do like a random club spot just because they're in town and yeah, and they want to do it. Like to me, that's just like, I don't know, I just find it like super cool. It's like very, I don't know, bohemian or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that Dave Chappelle was like during COVID, during the quarantine, or like, I don't know, like I think at one point when he was kind of just in a hiatus, like he would just show up in random places and like, hey, you mind if I go like just really random bars in the middle of nowhere.
Hey, dude, you don't need anything. All you need is a mic, a speaker, and an audience. You know, like two or three people, and you could do a comedy show. And I think that's, you know, I think that's what I like about it. And you know, I'm thinking back to when I was doing like live production in high school. I've always enjoyed the I guess like chaos of production, or like the adrenaline rush of production. You know, that's why I like doing like live TV. I like doing live events. I like shooting stuff that's not, you know, always planned. And that's, you know, like with the documentary work, it's fun doing something that's not, there's no like, you know, real clear path, you know. But that's the most frustrating part too, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I'm learning that with this podcast. We'll see if I keep the ball rolling, if I keep going. But like, it's I'm figuring out. I'm not good with improvising. Like I started with music, and I like never really. I could improvise a bit, but I didn't really like it, and I never really like. I'd get bored quick, and I think I do the Took Adventures, which if people listening haven't seen, it's my American self talking to my Argentinian self, and but because it's two of me, I have to have everything script out, and I'm terrible improvising, and this podcast has been like trying to figure out like how to just like keep going with the flow, and I like it, and yeah, it's something new that I like it. It definitely changes things up a bit.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been doing, I think, podcasts probably the longest like consistently of other types of production that I've done. Like I did the one podcast with Gary, Rated G, with Gary G Garcia and Brian T Licata, and I think that like that show in particular has helped me more than like all of the other stuff that I've done. Like first and foremost, it helped me stay consistent. You know, like, and right now I have a lot going on. You know, my wife's pregnant. We just moved.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. But it's like I still record once a week with that show, no matter what. Like absolutely, no matter what, we record at least once per week. And there have been times, obviously, that like, you know, we've skipped a week or two. But in 4 years, we've done like almost 300 episodes.
Wow.
And I know, dude, it's crazy. Like I said to G the other day, I'm like, bro, we're almost at like 300. That's like a lot. That's a lot of
Yeah.
episodes. And like each one's 2 hours. It's like, or plus. So we probably must have like 1,000 hours of podcast, but doing it like each week, no matter what, and then also being comfortable with like, all right, well, sometimes it's going to be a shitty show, Like not everyone has to be perfect. But what we have to do is just keep going. And then also, we kept the mindset of like, we're doing the show because we enjoy it, but we're doing it now because of the people who like to listen, and there's like a steady, sometimes 50, sometimes 30 people who come on, but it's not even about it being 10,000 people. It's the fact that we have a fan base that we keep trying to play to, So it, I don't know, I guess like more recently I've kind of gotten less, less driven by the results of the show and more of like the, quality of the people who like to listen to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I don't really care. Like I would love to have 10,000, or 1,000,000 listeners every show. But if the same 40 people love it and they watch it every week, then that's to me just as good, But it took a while, I think, for me to get to that point. And that's something. I mean, dude, something I've been thinking about like a lot, recently with like video stuff. I mean, me and you were talking about it the other day. Like the business, I think's changed completely in the last like 5 years. Like I'm not getting near the amount of work or the type of work that I used to get. And I've been trying to figure out if it's me, like business, like doing business stuff wrong, or if there's just like if there's a lot of people doing it now, or if people are doing it themselves. Like I just haven't really figured it out. But I guess I've kind of turned it more into like, I'm going to be doing production for the rest of my life, So there's no, like I have goals, but it's also just like this is part of who I am.
Yeah. I feel like it sucks waiting because I feel like as a freelancer, you're either like overwhelmed with work or you're like desperate for work. It's like pretty hard to find that. And like I think one of the things that I had to figure out that I'm still not good at, that I'm trying to do better at, is like constantly looking for work. For like as much work as I have coming in, I'm trying to like limit it so that I always have a little bit to keep looking for more work and to keep expanding and doing more. So that way I don't have those waves I think that's the key. But yeah, I see it in the wedding films. People are like, there's content creators now that are doing, like you've got your wedding videographer, and kind of like the old school wedding videographers are kind of now hating on content creators who are just like kind of just doing social media stuff. And it's like with real estate, you've got like really overly edited videos that, again, kind of more old school. I personally like they look real fun to edit, but it's kind of like, I don't know if this is going to sell the house. It's kind of like, what is this? What am I watching? But I think like the trick is just constantly being able to adapt. Like you always have to, there's always going to be new things, and you got to keep adapting to what's happening.
Dude, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I remember when Instagram Reels first came out, and then all of a sudden everyone wanted a vertical video. And bro, I never held my camera vertically before that, ever.
Yeah.
Like I never once took a shot vertically. Never even thought about it. I mean, dude, that's only Instagram Reels came out in. Dude, it was like 2020 or like 2019, I think. No, I think it was like 2019 or 2020. So it's like less than 5 years.
I was in Brazil when they came out with sorry?
No, go ahead. You're saying Brazil?
I was in Brazil when they came out with the IGTV, and that was like a longer form, but I was making the YouTube videos, and I was like, when it came out, I was like trying to figure out how to adapt, how am I going to make it, because it should be vertical. But yeah, that didn't last, thankfully.
Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah. Yeah, I still like, even now, I think there's a lot of wedding videographers that are paid to make wedding films, which it's nice. They're horizontal. But like to promote themselves, they still make the reels, and it kind of hurts me when like I'm like, let me make it vertical for you. Like, no. Like they like the horizontal, and then they like put it on Instagram. I'm like, no.
Yeah, and it's just I mean it's clear that at least like on a societal level that I mean people are changing the way they consume media. I mean it happens, it happened with radio to TV. It happened big time TV to internet, and we've really been, I think, kind of like in a adapting period or like a changing period as far as like what and how people consume. Like, dude, I mean we used to read all the time when I was a kid, but like I haven't picked up like a real book in who knows how long. But I'll listen to a book. Like I'll listen to tons of books. I'll listen to somebody else reading me a book. That's just it's just the way it is now. So it's like yeah.
I still like reading books, but I think working as an editor, being in here in this cave a lot of hours a day, like looking at the computer, makes me appreciate everything in a lot. What's the word I'm trying to say? Analogico?
Well, like
how do you say that in English?
Like an analog? Are you talking about like analog?
Analog, yeah. Anything analog, anything like even the cell phone, just like using the cell phone. I've got my fancy mouse with a bunch of buttons and I've got the two screens and I'm so like productive here at the computer. So if I'm not here and I have to use my phone, I get frustrated. Like I feel like I'm just wasting time and like I'm either here getting stuff done or I'm out living life. Like I don't like the phone if I'm not at the computer. Like I'd much rather do everything that I can do on the phone. I'd rather do it here at the computer and then forget about the phone when I'm not here.
Yeah, dude, I picked up a lot of that from you because you do stuff where you like turn your internet off, right?
Yeah.
Which is bananas, dude. To try to I mean, dude, I don't think I know anybody in America who just unplugged their internet for like 10 hours a day.
I haven't done it for a while, but
it's done, bro. You get so much done. Like, I mean, I remember, you were up in New York, and I was like talking to you about like being on my phone too much, and I was like talking about getting like another phone to like not have to like deal with the internet and stuff like that. And you're like, bro, just shut it off.
Yeah, leave it at home.
Turn it off. Yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, bro, it's got a power button. Click, and yeah, I've started to do stuff like that. And I mean, I listen to like a lot of vinyl like records to just kind of like tune out. But I think doing stuff like that makes me better at production. Like because there's there's like real art in music and like there's no better storytellers than like actual like authors.
Yeah. No, and it's so much less distraction. I haven't I've been bad about I haven't done the Wi-Fi thing in a while, but when I was limiting myself to 4 hours of Wi-Fi a day, and as soon as I started doing it, I was just so much happier. I was so much happier. I got so much more done. I was more social, which is like crazy because when I moved into this house, I kind of like for the first year, I really liked living by myself and just getting stuff done. And then like after like a year, I was like, maybe I should be more in contact with people. And it was crazy how like turning off the Wi-Fi, one, made me feel less lonely because I'm like doing what I'm doing. And I'm not constantly looking like, I don't know, like checking messages or checking like who isn't hanging out with me. I'm just kind of in my world. And then like when I would hang out with people or talk to people, it was let's go hang out and talk in person. It wasn't like let's message or let's like I'm not gonna scroll on Instagram or anything. Like it was crazy how much more sociable I was without Wi-Fi.
It's like the old days, man.
Yeah.
It's like it's like when you just used to just call up your boy to see what was going on.
Yeah.
Shit for 20 minutes, it's just funny. It's funny that like we both kind of feel the same way, and I'm sure a lot of video people do also. But it's like, dude, it's like this catch-22. It's like, well, without the internet, we wouldn't have, like, none of this would be a job,
Yeah, I think it's
like,
crazy.
We wouldn't be able to make money with any of it,
Yeah, I think it's crazy seeing like Ali Abdaal or like Alex Hormozy, all these like productivity or like a lot of influencer YouTubers that like try to get you like the goal of their videos is to make you more productive or make you more money. And like sometimes I feel like a lot of times I feel like if you watch a video, like they'll share with you that like stop watching these videos. Like the whole goal of the YouTube algorithm is to keep you from being productive, and their job as an influencer is to just keep making more content to keep you watching. And that watching is like, they might have some really good points and some really good strategies, but if you're just watching them and you're not implementing them, like it's just completely counterproductive.
Dude. Yeah.
Like
Yeah, dude.
I figured out when I started editing professionally, when I started trying to, like right before we met, I went through a few Skillshare courses, and like I went all in like learning Premiere. I wasn't using DaVinci yet, but I was doing Premiere, and I wanted to learn, because I made YouTube videos, but I didn't really know, I wasn't fast with Premiere, and I didn't know screen movement and all of these things. Like it just opened my eyes to all these things. But I quickly figured out that like I would pick one video, or even Skillshare courses. I would like download a Skillshare course, and I would like focus on one for a month. Like you can, everything that you need to learn for anything, like you can learn just about anything online. But I think like the trick is just to pick one and use that video, like watch it 10 times and figure out everything about that video and practice it before moving on to another one. Because if you just go down a rabbit hole of learning things on YouTube, you never actually learn them. You're just like consuming content.
Yeah, dude, just consuming more information and not, giving it some sort of like practical application. Yeah, man, I think that's wise. I mean, for me, I think learning like story structure was the most important part, and how to like, I guess like how to, I mean, you're talking about like watching all those videos, like it's right. Like, I mean, every video follows some sort of format, like you want to get someone hooked in, you want to, give them the information they need, and then, pretty much get out of there. But yeah, if you're just watching and watching and watching, like you're not making anything. That's really the whole point, is to make something.
Yeah. Or make something or learn something.
Right. Yeah.
Do you remember what the first AI is that you used?
I think it was Opus, dude.
Really?
I think it was Opus Pro.
Are you sure?
Opus
because I feel like
Pro
it was sneaky in the beginning. Like I feel like we were using some AI things we didn't even realize.
What was it?
No. I'm just like, I think I still don't have an iPhone that recognizes my face, but I think that was like one of the first sneaky AIs.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Well, no. I just like, because for me, like I remember Opus, but like one of the first things that for editing or for just working with the computer that I didn't realize was AI at all was the color palettes, coolers. There's like this website that you can make color palettes, or if you have one color, you can like match up a few colors. And I used that for years before I realized it was AI.
I mean, like the warp stabilizer is kind of like that too, right?
Could be.
More or less. Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I mean, like Opus was big,
Yeah.
And just like, yeah, dude, it's crazy like how much those like, language models have like changed, just changed like editing, I mean, you could really like put in a whole, like it can do it for you more or less. But the dude, it's like I still see, like, I mean, I know you can probably spot it too. I mean, there's some videos I can't spot it being AI, but most of the time I can. And it's like there's just something so mechanical about the story structure, that I feel that's not like, you can just feel it as being inorganic rather than like, something that came from a human, Yeah, I wonder if that's going to change someday,
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're really lucky because we work with this. Because a lot of things, like you say, like you recognize the AI, you recognize things that are AI, and I even like recognize like I said about the YouTubers and like a lot of content that you watch. like you recognize things that are only made to go viral, like things that are staged that I try not, like everybody sends you reels all the time. Like everybody sends me reels on Instagram, and I'm trying not to open them anymore because I realize it's just a waste of time. Like, sorry, but like call me, talk to me. I
know, dude,
like you. I want to hear from you. Don't send me a
way,
reel
bro.
that's staged. And there's a lot of things like that that like either AI or either staged that like for us it's just like, oh yeah, this is just made to be consumed, and like a lot of people don't recognize that. They don't
Yeah, dude,
recognize or it's AI or it's just a waste of time or it's like
Yeah, and I mean, man, that's kind of like even the like a bigger conversation with us. Just like, you know, I mean, in the States now, everything's like marketed as being like healthy, whole food, organic, you know, or whatever. And it's like, you know, dude, it's the same crap. They just now put it in like a brown bag, you know, and like
yeah.
make it look like natural. But it's like it's still the same. It's still the same crap. You know, and I think about that sometimes too with like, you know, the Instagram content or, you know, whatever. It's like, well, this is basically just like the same dribble of a sitcom, you know, that they used to just put on TV just to give you something to watch. But it's not like, you know, it's not good.
Yeah.
You know, it's not good. But you know, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird because it's like I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's necessarily new. It's just different because like if you think about 20 years ago, people weren't watching reels all day, but they were watching like Big Brother. Like they were watching reality TV.
Yeah,
and
dude,
things that-
yeah, or soap operas. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And before that, there's always something that like is just very basic and channeled towards.
But you know, we need stuff like that though.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, we need like, you know, little sitcoms and stuff like that. I had a question for you that I wanted to ask. How do you because this is something I like. How do you manage doing multiple projects at the same time, like in different stages of projects and stuff like that? How do you keep yourself like together?
I think the biggest thing, the trick is organization, which I'm like way better than I used to be, but I feel like it's always an uphill battle. Like there's always like as organized as I feel like I've gotten, I always have to open an old project and I'm like, oh, what happened here? Like what is this? But I like the whole thing of this whole podcast. I really like structures. I really like systems, and I think that's something that has helped me a lot with editing. Like with the when we did the Tint World videos, like I started figuring out ways of structuring the timelines, and I just did the podcast with Jonathan. When I saw Jonathan's, like you've seen how I structure the timelines, how I'll like start with just the A roll and then copy that so that I can always go back. If I mess anything up, I can always go back to the previous version. So I've got like, I end up with like 12 different timelines before I get to the final. And I saw Jonathan's, he does wedding videos. When I saw his computer and I was like,
Right.
where are all your timelines? He's like, I've got one. What do you mean? Like, this is the timeline. This is it. And I'm like, no. I don't know. I think step-by-step processes like that kind of really help to structure things.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Me too. I mean, I've always been, dude. There's just so much. It's like, dude, you go shoot a project and you got, you know, 500 gigs of files. Like you gotta segment it somehow, or you're not gonna make any money. You know, like, and that was the thing for me. Like when we were doing those Tim World videos, you know, in particular, like it's a repeatable process. You know, it's something you can make a lot of money on if you can get it dialed in quickly. And we just, you know, it's like a lather, rinse, repeat. You know, but I just wish I could do that with the sales part of it.
Yeah, yeah, it's tricky. Like I'm figuring out like more and more systems, more and again like the improvising is kind of helping me. I think with the with I'm taking on a lot more clients, so they're very different systems, but like the more I develop and the more I take on more clients, the more I like realize how that Tint World structure kind of really set me up for success, because even if we're talking about wedding videos, like each wedding videographer films differently, or I'm doing like new corporate videos too, but you can always pick B-rolls and like kind of put them into certain bins, certain folders. And so like the first thing I do, I just go through and pick every type of B-roll gets a certain type of color, and then that'll either go into a bin or its own timeline so that I can then go through. And sometimes I'll mix, like I'll usually, depending like how comfortable I am, how many projects I've done before, I'll usually go through and pull selects and while I'm doing that. But yeah, that like picking, doesn't matter what the video is, but like I have more or less have like certain colors that are certain type of B-roll, certain colors that are the A-roll. And yeah, the colors and the bins and the separate timelines just make everything cleaner, and like it's almost like the same, it's almost the same rinse and repeat process, even though they're completely different videos.
Yeah, dude, I started doing the color coding after you did. You showed me that. I had never done, I didn't even know you could change the clip color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought they were like, you know, it was just like a certain color for video, a certain color for audio. But I've been doing that with the Dom documentary because I'm shooting, you know, it's about his lifespan. So there's like, I mean, basically like decades. You know, I can do like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and like different pieces of his life. So and then I'm interviewing multiple people. So when multiple people are talking about something that happened in the 70s, I can organize all the stuff that happened in the 70s, like, you know, visually. And then it makes it much easier. But that's where I'm at with that project now. I have everything organized like chronologically, and now I just got to start kind of moving things around, you know?
Yeah. I imagine like doing a documentary is like, I haven't edited a documentary, but like you're going to deal with a lot of footage.
Bro,
and a lot of different.
It has literally been the most rewarding and the most painful like project that I've ever done. Because it's like, dude, I wanted it to be done like a year and a half ago, and it's like nowhere close to being finished. Yeah, it's just like there's just
that makes it that much better.
Much.
That much more epic.
I know, dude. Yeah, like I guess it does. And it's just like, you know, there's just so much to it, and it's like, you know, I want it to be great, and it's, you know, it's my first one, and I want to add more to it. But then it's just, dude, it's just like time. Like there's only so much time in the day. There's only so much time you can spend on something that's not really bring you in money, but like, I don't know, dude, I guess that's like the pursuit of it all, you know? And, you know, that's really something that I've just been trying to, I guess, focus on more recently, is that like, you know, like I was saying earlier in the show, that like, you know, I'm going to shoot and edit video for the rest of my life. And sometimes there's going to be more work, and sometimes there's going to be less, but it's really just the kind of lifestyle I've adopted. So it's just like, you know, I've kind of just trying to become like cool with that, you know, and not like, you know, giving myself some crazy deadlines that I'm never going to hit or anything like that, and just, you know, enjoy the ride, you know, because I started doing it because I like it, you know, and
yeah,
I think that's the way to go.
Listening to you talk about it, I don't think I've ever related filmmaking and climbing so much, because it's the exact same thing. Like you've got projects that we were supposed to do this podcast the other day, and I had a rough day. I came down from it was a documentary. It's this mega project that I'm really stoked about and I'd love to do, but it's like something that's really hard for me, that takes a lot of effort, which makes it even more worth it. And you've got to like, in climbing, you've got to like tick off smaller projects on the way. Otherwise, you're just constantly beating your head against the wall with this mega project. And yeah, it was like anytime I go to a project and it doesn't go the way that I want, like it kind of, you go through this process of like, well, that sucked. But at the same time, it's like, well, now I know what I have to work on. And clearly I'm not ready. Like clearly, like I've still got a lot more to work on. And it's like, there's your laundry list of like what you got to do. It sucks, but it like if you can figure that out and like flip it into a positive, it kind of like, it gives you,
yeah, dude,
it gives you what you needed to get done.
Yeah, man, and that's, you know, I guess that's the perspective that I've, you know, just been trying to find. Like I said, you know, my wife's pregnant, so like, you know, I have a kid coming. I had to, you know, have to make a little more money, so I'm doing some other work in addition to video work. So it's like, you know, I think that's like the life. I mean, like video production and making money off of like this. It's not like working somewhere else where, you just show up to work and you get paid. It's like you're literally selling yourself, and you're selling the skill set that you have. And it's not easily to find. And usually when somebody's hiring you, they have all this like input and stuff like that where they don't like, dude, if you hire somebody to build your house, they're not like, hey, why don't you use this wood, or maybe you should use these nails instead of the nails that you already did. It's like, well, no, bro, like I picked that song because that's the song that fits with the video.
Yeah.
But I can pull all these nails out if you want me to, and put nails that you want in.
Just pay me
But,
by the hour.
Why would I do that? Like it's not not me, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm running into that with like I'm slowly starting to be able to hand off work, and like I've been given resumes of people that like have graduated from film school, and I'm like, what am I looking at? Like this isn't gonna help me. It's like I heard a metaphor the other day. It's like if you go to the hospital with a like completely dislocated broken arm, and the doctor starts showing you his doctorates, his degrees. It's like, no, fix my arm. And like that's what I'm like starting to look for in team members and in people to help me out, is like taking that initiative to like figure out what needs to be done and get it done. And definitely different than showing a resume that just shows.
Yeah, dude, and I think I mean, like, our relationship is a good example. I've worked with a bunch of other people. And me and you hit it off like, pretty much from the jump. But I think it's because our brains are similar in the way we like organize information. I think we're also like on a personal level like motivated, but also chill.
Yeah.
Like we're not like we're doing video work because we're not trying to do like regular work.
Yeah.
We're not like trying to. And I think that was important. For me I think once we found each other, we like worked together a lot, and I think finding people who make videos or like to work in the same style as you was important. And then also like, dude, there's millions of ways to shoot stuff, and people have different, just you don't have to work with everybody. I think it was important to find people I like to work with, and we like worked well together. There's a couple guys like me and Elliot, dude, me and him could shoot anything together. Me and my boy John Wick can shoot anything together. But then there's other people like I can't. Like there's no way I'm shooting shit with him again.
Yeah. I think it's funny. Thankfully, I haven't really had to have this conversation, but I'm always like, when I start working with someone new, every once in a while, there's like a point where I'm like, am I gonna have to explain that like I'm either working my ass off or I'm climbing? Like you know me, and that's what happens. But like I think I'm like, usually I figure out, because like if I have a deadline, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get it done. But if I don't answer your text, it's because there's no deadline, and because I'm climbing. Don't worry, I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll be able to work. But like, yeah, a few times, and like, I'm kind of like, do I have to explain myself here? And like, I definitely work more than I climb. I've got friends that, and I've got friends that like spend a lot more time just climbing on rock, that takes a lot more time. It's awesome. I'll also go through waves where I'm like, I need to be out climbing, especially like if I have less work. It just makes me happier, makes me feel better if I'm out climbing. But I also like training, and I like being here. And if I train, I've got the climbing wall at my house, so I can work a lot and then still train here. But yeah, I think I've found a good balance. But yeah, sometimes I get curious, like, do I need to explain this?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say no. You know, it's like, you know, whatever, you know, and I think that, you know, when you find good clients who, you know, understand a little bit, that they're like, you know, I mean, dude, like making a video is a lot like writing a song or something like that. Like there's just some days you just don't have it, and you have to do other stuff to like get it, you know? And that, I mean, for me, that was really hard for like the longest, you know, because I would just sit down at the computer, and even if I didn't have anything, I would just stay there. And then I realized it's like, you know, you have to go out and experience a little bit of life to get the, you know, that artistic, you know, I guess influence, or, like the juju, you know, sometimes you just need to go do something, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, I got it. And you get on the computer at like 10 at night, and then it's like 4 in the morning when you're done.
Yeah.
That's why I love that.
Yeah. And I think like burnout too, like understanding that burnout is real and that happens.
Yeah. I mean, dude, like right now I'm taking like just like a little, you know, like kind of like a half step away from video for the moment. You know, I'm still shooting a lot of my podcasts. I'm still working on the documentary, but I'm kind of like in this period where I'm not super filming. But now I'm like kind of building the excitement back up, you know, like I'm like, all right, I'm ready to get cracking again. So sometimes you just need a little time off, you know?
Yeah.
A little space, you do something else to kind of get like out of the like wormhole.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been like,
out of the black hole.
Recently I've been kind of trying to figure out side hustles that make me happy and make me money, which in Argentina is pretty tricky. Just the way the economy and prices and everything is, because it's like anything that I do to make money that isn't at the computer is like a joke. Like I should be at the computer.
It's like labor, like like labor, like hard labor, right?
Yeah, like no, like I made my desk and I made a bar in the kitchen, and so like I was thinking the other day about like woodwork. Like I could make more desks like this and sell desks. And I'm like, the amount of time that I'm putting into this desk, no one's gonna buy a price that's like.
No, yeah,
but it makes me happy.
Worth it for you. Yeah, it's worth it.
The new thing that I'm really excited about, I don't care how much money I make, but it just like, for me, it just seemed brilliant when I thought about it, is I love cleaning out my yard. And I've got, from last year, a little bit of compost from like all the leaves that I've raked up, and I'm raking up the leaves again, and I'm like, I'm really taking care of my my compost. But I just blanked out. Hold on. I'm making the compost, but I don't I'm not gonna use it. I'm not good with the plants. I don't have a use for this compost, and I'm like, wait a minute. I live in this town in the middle of nowhere where like there's a lot of hippies that would love compost. I'm like, I'm gonna bag this and sell compost that I'm like so proud of. Because I get so stoked to like move the compost around and like get it like really useful and really like dirt. And there's worms in there, and like it makes me happy, but I'm like, what am I gonna use with this for? That's my new side hustle.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I mean, you know, I do like landscaping and stuff too, and there's something really similar between, for me, for like working with my hands outside and in the same, and like doing video production also, because it's like, it's all encompassing, you know, you're doing every stage of the process, and it's like you have to give it like all of your effort. And you know, like if you have, you know, say you get a new house and there's no landscaping done, you take a completely blank slate and then turn it into something completely different. And I think that's what's always attracted me to video, and the same with like, you know, working with my hands. I feel like there's a lot of, you know, correlation with that. So it doesn't surprise me, like making compost.
Yeah, I think working with wood and working with like just using the drill and like building things with wood, it's so relatable to video. And I actually like on my YouTube channel, on the Took Adventures channel, like a lot of my my titles and things, like I'll put PNGs of boards and wood to like make it more woodworky like, and like a lot of the graphic effects, it's just like lining up wood. And I think also just like doing carpentry kind of like teaches you patience and teaches you that like things are gonna take a while, and you're gonna have to like work with the wood. You're gonna have to make things, figure out how things are gonna fit together, and it's like a slow, arduous process. But like you go through it, and it's so relatable to video editing.
Yeah, and sometimes you got to take it apart and start over.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to burn all the firewood and start from scratch.
Just go film it again.
Yeah, just go film it again. Ugh, that's funny, man. Yeah, dude, it's yeah, I love it. I love shooting video, man. And I mean, it's you know, like the relationships I've built. Like, dude, me and you have this awesome relationship that we've made, you know, over video. I have a couple friends of mine that we've grown even closer just because they've, you know, gotten into it too. It's you know, it's been super rewarding, you know, and yeah, I'm happy I got into it. I really am.
You've done a lot of podcasts, and this is something new to me. Do you have a favorite moment on a podcast? I mean, aside from like this whole thing that we've done just now, no.
Yeah. Favorite moment on a podcast? Yeah, man, there was one episode of Rated G where we had this dude, Adam Gable, on the show. And it was an in-person podcast. It was me, Gary, and Adam. And we were just cracking on each other so hard. Like, it was brutal, dude. Like, if anybody would have just, like, walked by and, like, heard the stuff we were... Like, if we were, like, sitting at a table and somebody, like, heard the conversation, they'd be like, yo, what are these guys talking about?
Chill out.
But it was, like, dude, it was so... I mean, honestly, it was, like, super offensive. And it was, like, you know, it was like, really, really just, like, wild. But then after we got done, all three of us were like, dude, that was the best podcast episode we've ever done. And they're both comedians, you know, so it's like they weren't taking anything seriously. But it was just like, just being completely like wrapped up in that. And I mean, like another like memorable production experience is my buddy John Witt. He started a studio in Washington, D.C., and me and him were like filming some stuff around DC where we were taking torches and like lighting them up in different places, and, like filming stuff like out on the street. And we got one like in front of the Capitol building, and it was just like, you know, mad illegal. It was like out there in the middle of the night doing like, you know, just some stupid stuff with cameras, and it's like, you know, doing stuff like that and just getting like totally caught up in the moment and just being like, just really just like present, you know. And I feel like when I'm doing like a really good show and I'm completely just like caught up in it and you're not thinking about anything else, like those are my favorite times in production. When you're almost like, when you get done, you're like, dude, I feel like we just got fucked up for like 3 days. You know, but we haven't done anything. You know, we've been completely sober just filming for like 3 days. Like, it's like when I gotta get into things like that, it's like that rush is what I think I keep coming back to, you know, or why I keep doing it, is to just, once you get in that zone, there's nothing like it. That's what I think.
Awesome. Yeah, I was kind of curious. I was thinking if I should ask if you got something like a favorite moment that you filmed as well, but I think that...
Yeah, man, I think some of the stuff that I've done with Dom, too, has been, you know, like memorable. Like I went down to the mothership and I got to film some stuff at Rogan's Club, like, you know, inside.
Did you meet Joe?
But I haven't met him yet, and
Okay.
I would love to. But yeah, I haven't gotten to meet him. But I think just some of like the behind the scenes stuff I've had with Dom, just like these little like, you know, just like personal conversations. Like he's a big fan of the Beatles, and me and him watched this like I think it was. I'm trying to remember what the name of the documentary was, but basically the Beatles like wrote a new album and like performed a live show like in under 2 weeks, like some point in England, and they like filmed all this behind the scenes stuff. And me and him watched this like 4-hour documentary together. We're just like stopping, listening to songs, and it's like I don't have any of that on tape, but it's just like one of those things that I'll be like, yeah, that was. Like I got to sit and like sit with one of the best comedians of all time and like listen to his favorite group, and we just like talked about like the artistry of it, you know, and like that's, you know, that's super cool.
So I'll link all of your links so people can follow you and hire you and get you more video work in the show notes.
Dope.
But Is there anything, you're going to be a dad, so that's,
Very
that's
exciting.
pretty exciting.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm pumped
Is there
about
anything
that.
that you didn't mention that you're really excited about in the upcoming future?
Yeah, I'm just I'm excited to see where the documentary takes me. I'm interested to see like what projects I get into next, because like that's the thing is like you never know what's coming. So yeah, I guess I'm just excited to I guess I want to start shooting some stuff with my kid whenever they come.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I thought about doing that thing where you like take a picture of the kid like every day, from like the same location, and then like speed it up. Then it's like, do I want to put that on the kid where I gotta like take a picture of this kid like every day? It's like I don't know if I want to do that, but like that's the stuff you think about as like I don't know, like a video person or whatever. Like I'm always just thinking about how I can film and put something into a story, you know.
Yeah. I when I went home for Christmas, I got to hang out with my niece. I met my niece, my 2-year-old niece, and she like my cousin and his wife. English is hard. Uh, his wife. They're really good about the screen, but you can see 2-year-old like just they like screens, and like the screens like it's clearly not good for a 2-year-old's brain, and they're good about it, but like you can see that they want that, and like seeing that I was like it would be really cool to like have a camera, a real like an analog camera, like to film things more analog with the kid, so that way like you can get pictures, you can get memories, and it's not always
Like addicting.
the cell phone, the screen.
Yeah, yeah, dude. And that's actually something I want to bring up too. I bought a film camera, like a 35 millimeter film camera, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. And if you've never shot on film, I know a lot of people around our age probably haven't, or they used, film cameras when they were kids. But buying an old school film camera and shooting on film made me much, much better behind the camera as a video person. For framing,
Yeah.
composition, light, like stuff that you if you pick up a digital camera, you just kind of take that stuff for granted, because there's like a lot that you don't really have to think about anymore. So for me, I think that was one of the best. I think that was like a thing that I didn't realize was going to happen. Like I bought it just because I thought it was fun and different, and then I was like, like I'm much better at composing shots now because of this thing. It's like, dude, you got this camera in your hand, and each time you press the shutter, it's like $3. It's like $1. It's like $1 per picture for the shoot. Roll of film's like can be $20, and then you got to get it developed, and then you got to get it scanned. So it's like each photo is like $3. So you're not just gonna like spray and pray. Like you gotta like actually make sure it's good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
I haven't shot on film, but when I bought my my Nifty 50, my 50 millimeter lens, that thing taught me, like I more or less understood ISO, shutter speed, aperture. Like I kind of understood, but as soon as I got the 50 millimeter, it just, because it goes down to 1.4 aperture.
Yeah.
You get like everything makes sense, and framing as well. Like you got to move. You can't. There's no zoom, so you got to like
you move. Yeah.
move around.
Yeah.
And that taught me so much.
Yeah, it's cool.
Just about cameras and about framing things, everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool, man. We got
Sick, dude.
We got cool lives, man. I feel very lucky that, like I was saying before, I got into this really because I was in a BS class that I didn't want to take, and just from that like little motivation of not wanting to be bored as like a 14-year-old, turned into this, it's, and then dude, I have to give, a lot of credit to my teacher, Mr. Josie. Like if I didn't have, if he wasn't a good teacher and he didn't see somebody who wanted to learn, right? And he was just like, well, this class is for upperclassmen. If you're not an upperclassman, you can't come in. But he like saw a student who wanted to learn and then invested in that, and, I feel lucky that he, for whatever reason, it's probably my brother. He liked my brother a lot, and that helped. But it's just like, it's just so funny, just like little small decisions, that, you know, have such a big impact, you know. It's cool. Yeah, man, it's cool. Yeah.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah, bro.
Well, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much, because you're much more used to podcasting than I am.
Dude,
This
you're
has
great
been a
at
very
it.
different experience.
Yeah. Dude, you're great at it. I mean, you know, that's like I think I got back into video after high school because of podcasting, you know, and you know, I think with what we were talking about before, with how, you know, short form content is, there's not a lot of, you know, like, dude, when was the last time you talked to somebody for like an hour straight, 0 interruptions? Like, dude, doesn't happen. Like, bro, me and Gary talk every week for 2 hours, 0 interruptions, not on the phone, not on just one-on-one. And you know, I think it's cool that people want to listen to that kind of stuff. You know, it's you know, you can get deeper into ideas. You know, there's more of that gray area that can get covered, and it's yeah, I don't know. I think it's the way I like to consume media.
Yeah, and you guys, like, ping-ponging back and forth. I was listening the other day, like, before we, when I was thinking about when we realized we were going to do this podcast, and you guys, like, you'll be talking about Jay-Z, and then all of a sudden you're talking about, like, different species of apples, or, like, like, just all over the place. Like, you gotta stay. It keeps you on your toes as a listener. I'm like, how did they get?
We don't even know. We don't know how we got there.
Yeah, dude.
You know? But that's the fun part, dude. And it still trips me up that like there's this one girl, Stormy, who listens from Ohio, and like she found us from Gary being on another show that you watched. But now she told all of her friends, and we have this like group of people in Ohio that listens to us all the time. And it just like trips me out.
That's so
that,
crazy.
Yeah, and then like they'll hit us up. They're like, "Hey, you know, how's your wife doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know this person," but they're like, they care. And I mean, I feel the same way about like guys like Rogan or Theo Vaughn or these dudes like I listen to all the time. Like you feel like you know them. And I mean, you don't, but you also kind of do, because you're just like listening to somebody talk for several hours a week, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, it's almost, I feel like kind of like in the old days when they used to just have like oral storytellers, like when that was like the form of media where people would like walk around and just like tell stories. Like I feel like the podcasting is like it's like the new version of just like the oral storyteller, which I think is, you know, from a human perspective, I think that's the best. Like, dude, we love to talk. That's how we communicate, and telling stories is like, you know, everyone does it, you know.
Yeah.
Not everyone does it well though.
Yeah. It's like I was saying with the Wi-Fi, how like you limit how much internet, because the internet and the phone and everything, it's just short bursts of information, and like it's so much better for the brain. Like interacting with someone or interacting with any kind of activity or anything that you have to do for like more than just a 15-second reel.
Yep. It's just not enough, dude. It's just not enough. But who knows, man? I mean, you know, things might change. I mean, people are still into long-form podcasts. But, you know, I also think it's just like the moneymaker right now, short-form content, you know, because that's what they can monetize it quickly, you know. If the content's short and you're bouncing back to ads every 8 seconds, then you can make more money that way. Well, this was a good show, man. Thanks. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thanks again. If you want to do another one, I feel like I had a bunch of questions. Like I had a direction where I thought we were gonna go with this, and that was too easy. You made that too easy for me.
Yeah, bro, let's do it. I'll do another one in a week or two, whatever. Yeah, I'll do one every other week. I love podcasting, man, and I love talking to you. So it's all good.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.